Hello and welcome to the Courage and Confidence Festival. My name is Peace Mitchell and I am co-founder of Osmompreneur, the Women's Business School and Women Changing the World Press. I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Today, we're launching our new book, Courage and Confidence. This book has been written by 24 Australian women in business and shares their stories, expertise, and advice. The royalties from the sale of this book go to providing scholarships for women in business to attend the Women's Business School. The Women's Business School, we have two programs, Ignite, which is for pre-launch and early stage businesses, and Accelerate, which is for experienced businesses who are ready to scale up and do bigger things. Applications are open now for the Women's Business School 2022 cohort, and also scholarship applications are also open, but not for much longer. So I've put the links in the comments. So if you would like to apply for the scholarship, or if you'd like to buy a copy of Courage and Confidence, then jump on those links and have a look. So our next presenter today is Amy. Please join me on the stage, Amy.
Hello. Hi, Peace.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Amy. I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do for people who haven't met you before.
Okay, my name's Amy Huebner. I founded a sleep consultancy in 2017 called Hushabye Baby. And I was drawn to coming into this field of work mainly due to having my own children, feeling the effects of sleep deprivation, how exhausting and how hard it is just being a new mum, a new parent who isn't sleeping well at the same time. And I could see it all around me as well. Everybody who was kind of coming along that ride with me, my mother's group, everybody was struggling. So it's a bit of a long story, but I got in touch with a woman called Dana Oberman, who is the creator of the Sleep Sense program. And it's a gentle methodology about teaching children how to sleep well and really mastering that skill. And it's just been a game changer for me. I absolutely love what I do. I work with families, helping their little people sleep well. So in turn, the whole family sleeps well. And I hope to be doing it for a lot longer. I've worked with about 500 families, close to 600 now, and it's been amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful, Amy. And I'm sure that you've really helped them gain back that the well-being and peace of mind that a good night's sleep gives you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can feel things start to get a little chaotic when there aren't, a number of people in the family sleeping. Generally, if the little people aren't sleeping, neither are mum and dad. And the effects can be really, really adverse. And sleep deprivation, just in general, can basically fracture lives, to put it simply. It's not a nice thing. And it's amazing what a good night's sleep can do. And if young children aren't sleeping very early on, it can often go on for years and years. And so there's families that are just chronically sleep deprived for years, and work, relationships, child development, postnatal depression, anxieties are all becoming a pretty normal thing now. And great sleep can always help with all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go to the presentation now. If you are watching on the live stream, we would love you to jump in the comments and say hi and tell us where you're tuning in from. And if you have questions for Amy about sleep or anything that she shares in the presentation, please post those in the comments as well, as we will have question time after the presentation. But for now, let's go to the presentation.
I'm so happy to be here today to take you through my 7 top tips to getting your family well rested. So let's get started. Here I am with my husband Michael and my 3 young boys. This is Joel, Caden and Jack. Now, I've always loved my sleep, but when I had children, I really realised then how important it was that not only were mum and dad getting a great night's sleep, but so were the children. It really affected how we dealt with each day, as with our newborns, with our babies, with our toddlers, and now with our school children. So I'm going to talk about why sleep is so important and how you can get it happening. So we'll talk about sleep, what's it good for, sleep deprivation, the sleep cycles of your young children, the best way to dress them when they're sleeping, the top 7 tips, how to get help if you need it, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have at the end. So why is sleep so good? There's so much information out there about healthy eating habits, how important a stable home is for young children. I wish there was more education about how important sleep is as well. It really is such a vital element for children's growth, their learning, their ability to deal with life and life's pressures. Likewise, it's important for mum and dad as well, particularly if you've got young children. The stats show that if there are issues in infancy with young children, almost 80% of those children still have issues around 6 years of age. That is a lot of years of sleep deprivation to go through. Very early on in the piece, a baby can start to develop its own biological clock. It's a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour clock, and it is run on daytime and nighttime. And nighttime is when their sleepy hormone melatonin comes through. And from 3 months of age, they produce that themselves. And a good, healthy baby can be sleeping through the night at 6 months of age. And that doesn't mean they don't wake overnight. They're still naturally waking and will continue to do that for the rest of their lives. But what it is about is ensuring they get that consistent, peaceful sleep each and every night and have all their awake time in the daytime. So that is the game changer when it comes to children who aren't sleeping well. It's focusing on getting that beautiful, peaceful night's sleep, and also sleep in the day as, age dependent. So the sleep deprivation, it's such a strong, impactful thing that can fracture lives, family lives, relationships, our ability to deal with life in general. And it's the same for children. So when they're really tired in the day, their anxieties can go up and they're not able to deal with what's coming at them as well as they would if they were very well rested. And being a parent doesn't mean you're not going to sleep for years. That's not the deal. That's not how it needs to be. We can all get great sleep, and it's an important element that we ensure is part of our parenting and our children's sleep habits as well. Even for us, each day following a night where we've had fragmented sleep, there's such a low, our motivation is so much lower, our attention to detail, our ability to focus, our tolerance levels are super low. The same happens with our children as well. And referring back to the last slide, all that growth and that development happens when our children sleep. So it's such an important part for their growth as well. So here's a typical sleep cycle. Okay, if you can have a look up here, this part here is where we run into issues if we start to get involved there. So when our child, whether it's a baby or a toddler, if they aren't able to do this falling asleep part themselves, so independently, that's what can lead to issues. So they go through their sleep cycle, they come back around here, and if they have any help at this point in time, they're going to be looking for that help again, whether it's causing a short nap, so they've done a cycle in the day, they're looking for that help, or multiple times overnight. So remember, I was saying naturally we wake probably about 5 or 6 times in the night. Your baby will continue to do this throughout their lives as well. And if they're looking for something to help them go back to sleep, they're not going to just happily, peacefully go back to sleep when they do those stirrings. They're going to have full wakes. And that's what essentially is going to fragment their night, and yours, no doubt. So when you look at temperature, it's really, really common that people are having their children too hot overnight. Okay, they sleep much better when it's cooler. So keeping that in mind, that around this degrees is actually the best for them. When they're in a cot and they're still in a cot and they're in a sleeping bag, kind of medium sleepwear suits that temperature. So if it's higher than that, bring it down to like a thinner sleeping bag, lose the singlet. If it's colder, thicker sleeping bag, scoop the feet in. So it's a good idea to think overall that my child is going to sleep when they're cooler. It's the same when they get older as well. And how can I ensure that they're not getting too overheated at night? Overheating can cause wakes in the night, and they're usually quite upset wakes as well. So let's get started with my main tips. So remember that sleep cycle that I talked about, that period of time when they're falling asleep, that's the key. If you can let them fall asleep unassisted, you can be there with them if you like, but you're not helping them fall asleep. You're not rocking, you're not feeding them, you're not even singing at that point. So that's even going to start to become their little part of the process. Just make sure that that is what is happening when they fall asleep, and that's going to change everything. The other top tip is to be consistent. So babies love predictability, and that comes when you're being consistent. So where they sleep, in most cases, so kind of I'm a bit of an 80-20%, 80% 20% rule. 80% you're pretty on it, everything's, great sleep habits happening. 20% you're a little bit more lax. So try to be as consistent as possible where baby is going down for his or her naps in the same place as bedtime. Early bedtimes. Never fear about children or babies waking early in the morning if they have an early bedtime. It's actually the opposite to what you think. If a baby goes down to bed too late, they're likely to wake early in the morning because they were overtired at bedtime. So generally, babies and young children love a 7 to 7 routine, 12-hour day, 12-hour night. If they've had a particularly tiring day, maybe they went to care, there was lots of action and activities happening at care that day, then go pop them to bed a bit earlier that night. Never hesitate to do that. You always want to avoid overtiredness at bedtime because it can be quite deceiving. If they've missed their sleep window, they get quite charged. As a result, cortisol starts to come through their body, and it can be deceiving to you guys because it looks like they're just wide awake and happy to be awake, but actually they've now had a burst of cortisol that's come through that has suppressed the melatonin that needs to actually be at the forefront. So melatonin is your sleepy hormone, and it'll come down when the lights start to dim and a short, calm routine can get them where they need to be. Does not matter what time it is. They don't care about that. So never worry about doing an early bedtime. Bedtime routine, as I just mentioned, is a really beautiful process for babies and young children to get into the habit of. They love them. They love predictability, as I mentioned. So keeping it the same each night or fairly similar each night is what is going to work best for them. You also want it to be short and sweet. Don't burst that thing out. There's sleep cues that are happening in that bedtime routine. So keep them keep them with their power working, so you're not mudding it up. So not too long doing one thing. You keep the steps: bath, shower, some books, some songs. Beautiful. That's all they need, and they'll be ready to sleep after that. So keep it really super simple and the same. Nap routine's quite a bit different, because nap routine, you want to have a differentiation between the nap routine and the bedtime routine, but also you want to ensure that you use as much of that sunshine and light in their awake time as possible and build up their sleep pressure. So when they have a nap, it's just a very short and sweet routine before a put down for a nap, not as long as a bedtime routine. So super, super short routine, nappy change into sleeping bag, lights off, white noise on, into the cot. Always have a very dark room for sleep, day or night. And remember, the cooler, the better. Tip 6, so don't skip naps. So it's a myth if you've run your little toddler ragged that day, so you're, oh, he'll sleep great that night. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Sleep promotes sleep. So you always want to make sure you're giving your child, your baby, the opportunity to sleep when they need to. So whatever is appropriate for their age, whether it's a day nap, 2-day naps, no day naps, making sure that they have the opportunity to sleep when they need to. So don't skip them. Make sure you honor them. They'll have a better night for it. Tip 7. Okay, so drowsiness in general is not your friend. So it's very difficult because there's so much information out there. But when you think of drowsiness, you want that happening when baby's in the cot and going to sleep, something that happens roughly about 10 minutes after they've gone into their cot. You want to avoid drowsiness in their awake time. So awake, alert, interactive is where you want them to be in their awake time. Drowsiness is for the cot or for their bed. Avoiding drowsiness on feeds is really quite tricky when they're really little. But have a goal. I'm going to really try and do this. I'm going to try and engage a little bit more, ensure baby's aware and alert, and particularly as they start to get older, making sure that that is a good habit that you're getting into. Feeding when they wake really helps with this. So when they wake in the morning, when they wake after each nap, that is when you want to do your feed. So then they have some awake time beyond that, and you're keeping the feed away from when they're going down for sleep. That's important because they're going to be tired towards the end of their awake time. So if you feed at that time, they're going to get drowsy, and that's what you want to avoid, because if they get drowsy in their awake time, a few things can happen, but one of the main things that happens is they're going to be very upset when they get into the cot because they don't feel like having a nap anymore. They feel like they've just had one, even though we know they haven't. Or they're going to wake. If you've popped them in and they're drowsy and they've fallen asleep, they're going to wake very soon after you've popped them into the cot. So very, very short nap. So really work on avoiding that drowsiness. So when people come to me, most of them have a baby that is reliant on something. So whether it's a dummy, whether it's a breast, a bottle, or maybe their schedule's not right. And typically they're waking a lot through the night and having short naps. So the way we kind of embrace this and work out how we're going to change this is we write up a plan with our sleep goals in mind. So based on their age, and then we work out what changes we're going to have to make to ensure that this change happens. It's a bit of a process. I do it as gentle as I possibly can. And that is really important to me personally. So my plans are, I've been doing this for quite a while now, so I really know what works and what doesn't work. And so that is what we do. We spend time working out how we're going to move to our sleep goals, and we stay together via communication until that happens. In a nutshell. So let's talk about some transformations and why it's so worthwhile making an effort to change things around if there's struggles at home. Remember all that importance about why sleep is so powerful and important for all of you. So here's little Fletcher. He was 8 months old and just not sleeping at all in the day and waking multiple times overnight. So terribly sleep deprived and really struggling. As I said, we write up this plan, we work out our strategy of how we're going to get to Fletcher's sleep goals, which were sleeping through the night, taking 2 good naps a day. And that's where he was within a week, because they are amazing little people. They are so quick to learn. You just have to ensure that they know what the deal is and then set it out for them and take them through it gently. And then they start to really prosper. Little Isabel, she was 2 years old, pretty classic, maybe going to sleep in their bed. This is something that little toddlers will do, but then they're up again and they're in your bed for the rest of the night, because mainly you're just too exhausted, right, to keep taking them back. So with Isabel, very different strategy to a baby because of her age. So, and it also can take a bit longer depending on the length of time the habits have been happening, the personality of the child will affect it as well. So our goal for her was to be very happy in her own bed overnight, feeling safe and secure that she's cool, she's going to be all right there all night, and she'll see mum and dad in the morning. So that's where we want to be. So that's where we got to. So thank you. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I hope you found this really, really useful, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was a great presentation. So, Amy, you talked about the fact that you realised the importance of sleep when you became a mother. You had 3 young boys. Can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Yeah, look, I was kind of tricked because my first boy, he was, you know, when you can just feel something. When he came out, he just was so independent. It was like I was really envious of all the other mums in my mother's group because their little babies would be falling asleep on them while we're chatting, and my little one, Joel, was just like nuts on the mat. He would never ever even think about sleeping on me. He was, you know, pop him in the cot, he was straight to sleep himself in the bassinet. As soon as he was born, he was incredibly independent. So that's kind of, he led me down that path of learning how to back off and just let him do his thing. Now, my second was a completely different story, totally different, would basically bawl his eyes out day and night. It was a huge shock for me because I wasn't really used to that. My anxiety was through the roof. I was, what is wrong with this child? Is he the most miserable kid alive? It was terrible. And I obviously wasn't sleeping well because I was constantly with Caden, just trying to make him happy, basically feeding him, rocking him, anything I could do. And it wasn't, and I kind of hit a wall probably earlier than most, about 9 weeks. I was like, I just can't function anymore. I started to really worry about myself. I just couldn't even string thoughts together. I felt a completely different person, and I was really kind of worried about it, and worried about being left alone with Caden, because I started to kind of feel angry about, like, what? Come on, you give me a break. So I hit a wall, and I basically just said to my partner, you need to stay home for a week and really help me out here, because I'm really worried about myself. I'm worried about Caden. And it wasn't until I started to get really big blocks of sleep, and 5 hours at that point, so that's pretty big when you've got a newborn, I completely came back around to feeling more like myself, and that I could deal with these things a bit easier. So I don't know, I must have listened to a podcast of Dana's, or, probably 3 a.m. at night, like, what's wrong with my kid? And I got on an email list, and when she was coming to Australia, which she's never done before, and probably never again, and she was looking for a small group of people to teach this program to. And when I listened to her talk about this, it all kind of made so much sense. It was just common sense that I felt like when you aren't sleep deprived, you can actually work through this pretty well. And I never wanted to go back to that spot. It was really scary for me, and I could see it happening all around me. And once I started to get the sleep I need and the education around how I could prevent this from happening again, I just decided that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share this with other parents, and hopefully help other very tired parents out there.
Yeah, I think it's a really common thing that a lot of parents face when they have a new baby as well. It's not something that comes naturally to everyone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there's just the education and the contradictory information out there. It's mind-blowing. And, I'm a big believer in, if something's working, go with it, whatever that is. If it's not, there's struggles, you're struggling, you can see your child struggling, that type of thing, then that's the time to reach out for help. And sometimes people, first of all, don't really know where to go, or they can feel judged for reaching out for that help. I just feel like if you can have that support, it can honestly change your whole experience as a parent, whether it's sleep or, breastfeeding, whatever it is. Just having that freedom to get the support, and then picking a strategy. So if it's working, all good, whatever that looks like. But if it's not and you need help, my biggest tip is just pick a strategy and stick with it. So that's really what usually will get you through to another, the end of the rainbow. If you just pick a strategy, remain consistent with that, that's what it's all about. Whereas, with all this contradictory information, people are trying this and then that's crap. So, bad nights, let's try this. And that's how you can fall down a rabbit hole, because babies they just love predictability, as I mentioned in my slideshow. And if you can keep with that consistency, and often it's getting past night three tends to be the night people give up. If you can get through it and keep on that track of really supporting your child but allowing them to fall asleep themselves, then things will turn around.
So you talk about there's actually benefits of a good night's sleep. So it's not just about the parents not being sleep deprived. There are actually benefits for the child and their development as well.
The main thing is that a lot of people may not know is that our learning happens when we're asleep. So what we see in the day, whether you're studying, whether you're at uni or you're at school or they're at kinder learning about shapes, all those learnings happen when they sleep at night. So the brain is assessing what they've seen in the day. They're reorganizing it, they're absorbing it, and it goes into your memory as well while they're asleep. So having that ability to be able to sleep well from very early on carries all the way through. So all the way through daycare, kinder, primary school, high school, uni. It's a real brilliant skill to have, because if you're getting good sleep each night, your learnings are just so much easier to kind of grow. So, you know, when like people are saying, oh, I've got an exam tomorrow, I'm going to stay up all night and cram. Well, they're not, they actually just need to close the book and go to sleep.
Yeah.
They're going to do better on that exam the next day. So it's really, really vital for children as they're growing, as they're developing, as they're learning, that they have that beautiful pocket of deep restorative sleep to allow for that learning to be retained.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. You also talked about the circadian rhythm. Can you give us some more information about what that is, how it works, why we need to be aware of it?
Yeah, so when babies are born, their circadian rhythm, their natural biological clock starts to form. And a lot of the time it's reliant on mum. So when mum's pregnant, she's doing more in the day, she's doing less at night, and that even starts right in utero of when the baby's starting to form. It's 12-hour day, 12-hour night. Now, when it pops out, it doesn't have all this beautiful melatonin as yet. So melatonin is our sleepy hormone, and it comes down towards the end of the day, and it allows us to have a great night's sleep. That is mostly provided through mum's breast milk until about 3 months of age. Now, if they're not breastfeeding, they're still doing fine. It comes with daylight and night as well. And by 3 months, they start to produce it themselves anyway. So around 3 months is when it starts to really kick in, and their biological clock starts to form. So that's daytime and nighttime. And it generally, newborns are a little bit different in that they go to bed quite late, you know, between 9 and 10 p.m. initially. But once they get to that 3 months of age, it's daytime and nighttime. So typically sunrise, sunset. We've got to emulate it sometimes because of daylight saving, which is really annoying. But generally around the 7 to 7 is where they naturally sit. So that's why kind of when you've got little people, you eat dinner early, lights out are around 7 o'clock, and that's your life until they get to adolescence, when their natural biological clock starts to shift, and it shifts later to around 10 p.m. and then they only really need about 10 hours sleep that night instead of the 12 hours that they did when they were younger.
And you talk about the importance of routines, and that routine being part of the process of helping give them the cues that it's time for bed now, it's time to sleep. So can you tell us what a great routine looks like?
Yes. So that's really your biggest kind of investigation with your child. Do they have sleep cues, or do they have a sleep prop? So a sleep cue comes with routine. So it's an internal mechanism that's letting them know that sleep's coming up. And it's so easy to achieve. It's really just by doing simple steps before they go to sleep. So if you think about your journey to sleep, and we probably do it more without even realizing it. You know, you brush your teeth, you get a drink of water, you put it beside your bed, you open the window, like certain steps that you do, and that's telling your body and your mind that sleep's coming. Babies are the same. So by doing just a short, simple routine, and I'm talking from about 8 weeks of age, simple routine, step by step, that allows that body and mind to know what's coming up, and that's what a sleep cue is.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. You also talked about there's certain conditions in the environment that we need to think about. So one of those was overheating. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah. So, you know, there's certain things that you can do to help a baby sleep, but most of the time it's up to them. Okay, it really is up to them. But there's elements that you can definitely do to help them. So obviously what we've been talking about, sleeping them, letting them fall asleep on their own, but also the environment. So having when you think about setting up a nursery, you don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff in there. Super clear, just really basic, no distractions. So yes, I love mobiles. I got a mobile with my first. They're just so gorgeous. Those types of things you want to put over the change table. Have the sleep zone just really about nothing else, just sleep. Equally so, you don't want to have a cluttered room to allow for airflow. So airflow comes easy, and also a cool room. So newborns are a little bit different. Yes, you do layer them up quite a bit, once they're so brand new. But really from about 4 months onwards, you want to start peeling those layers off. They're very active little people when they sleep, and they also overheat very easily, and it's incredibly difficult for them to regulate their temperature. And if they overheat, they often wake very upset, and it's quite a long time before they can bring their body temperature down. So having a very cool room will always help in those situations. You can really work it out. Okay, so just say you've got a cool room, you haven't overdressed them, but you're still trying to work out what suits your bub perfectly, because some run hot, some run cold. So if you're finding you're having some wakes early in the morning at around like 4 a.m.-ish, then they're likely a little bit too cold. So you want to think about, okay, so I need to add a layer at bedtime to carry baby through that cold period. Okay, so another key way of knowing if, for example, if they have some upset wakes before midnight, that often means that they're too hot. So there's a few indicators to look for. Basically, cool cheeks and cool hands are your best indicator that bub's great. If they're rosy cheeks, warm hands, they're a little too hot.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of your tips and advice today, Amy. It's been so informative. If people want to get in touch and either have a call with you or ask some questions, what's the best way to reach you?
So the best way to reach me is to hop onto my website, hushabyebaby.com.au. Have a look around. It's got, I try to, really give you a feel of how I work, how my program works. There's a link there that you can book a free call to have a chat about any issues that you guys may be having at home and whether I'm going to be suitable to help you. So the best way is my website.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed your presentation. And thank you also for being part of this wonderful book, Courage and Confidence. It's on sale now. Copies are going to be available very soon. Pre-orders are available. So if you're ready to pre-order a copy, we would love your support. And thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, everybody who joined us on the live stream. And please reach out to Amy if you have any sleep questions. She is here to help. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.